What is going on, everybody? What is going on, the Catch fam? It is Steven and it is Santa here to congratulate all who made it through the first round of the playoffs or all who are about to enter the playoffs because we have got some defenses to view with you today. And if you are not already a part of the Catch fam, we certainly encourage you to hit that subscribe button, join the best community in all of fantasy football. If you enjoy these videos that we post every week, really appreciate it if you hit that like button too. It means a ton to the channel, but most importantly, make sure to get in those comments and let us know a couple things. One, let us know about your roster this week, the waiver wire situation, the roster decisions that you're making, regardless of position. But also, I want to know your favorite Christmas movie or holiday movie for this time of year, guys. My top two favorites are Home Alone and Christmas Vacation. So that's just putting that out there. But guys, go ahead and get in those comments and let us know so we can interact throughout the week. But without further ado, let's get into it. Let's get into the must starts. Usually would not even talk about these guys because they are just so absolutely lethal. They're kind of no-brainers. They're over 70% rostered, but I got a very high amount of comments about these guys this week. And, you know, just the fact that we are in the playoffs, there's probably a greater likelihood that you might have them because they probably carried you here and you're trying to think about decisions, right? And they're playing a playoff team. Well, I'm talking about the San Francisco 49ers here, who have just been absolutely amazing over the past month and plus at this point. Over the last 5 games, they have had 11, 12, 19, 17, and 12 fantasy points. And they play, whether it's a bad team or a good team, they show up and they show out and they dominate, guys. And now they're going up against the Washington Commanders. We know Taylor Heineke is very turnover prone. Sometimes he gets lucky and the defenders will drop the ball. It's a part of that pixie dust. So as Chris Collinsworth will say about Taylor Heineke, he's got some magic to him, right? But I think that magic is not going to be enough to play against the San Francisco 49ers defense, which is not only built to create the turnovers, but man, once they get the ball in their hands, they hit the sideline, they look to take it home. I think the San Francisco 49ers are going to swarm. They are going to attack. They are going to beat down this Washington Commanders team, which is probably going to get their second loss in a row after that heartbreaking loss against the New York Giants late in the game. So I think the 49ers are an absolute smash must-start play here against the Washington Commanders. You need to put them in your lineup. They could win you your week and get you into the championship, guys. And then next week, in week 17, they have got the Las Vegas Raiders. I just recommended the Patriots against the Raiders. That was obviously a very bizarre game. But the Pats defense still had over double digits, and they still had a pick 6, guys. So I think the 49ers are going to be the must-start defense, not only this week and next week as well. Up next, you can give some love to an AFC West defense, which just has been getting it done all stinking year. And I would have had these guys in my video, but at the time of making the video last week, I didn't know about Kyler Murray going down. Well, then the Denver Broncos got to face Colt McCoy, but then Colt McCoy got hurt, and they got to play against Trace McSorley, and they looked absolutely outstanding all game long. They had 10 fantasy points, 3 sacks, 3 interceptions. And you might be saying, all right, Steven, well, I can't bet on Trace McSorley and Colt McCoy that I'm going to go against in my fantasy championships or playoffs, guys. So listen, you're going up against the Rams, right? You're going up against Baker Mayfield. And obviously this video is being made before the Monday night game where the Rams square off against the Green Bay Packers. But I'm not too worried about Baker Mayfield, what he has in the tank. I don't really worry about what he can do on the football field. And I'm definitely not worried about the players that Baker Mayfield is going to be able to distribute the ball to. I think the Broncos are going to have a very good game against the Rams. I think they're going to be able to shut things down in that game. And if you look at what the Broncos have done, I mentioned the 3 interceptions against Trace McSorley and Colt McCoy, but they also had 3 picks against Patrick Mahomes the week before. They had 7 fantasy points, and they got the 2 sacks on him too. And they made Patrick Mahomes look really bad, right? So I don't think Baker Mayfield is on that level playing field of Patrick Mahomes, obviously, but it's really to just show you that this Broncos defense is going to show out no matter what. And obviously in the beginning to middle of the stretch of the season 2, the Broncos defense is fantastic. And back in week 13, just to give you even more perspective, they had 13 fantasy points against the Ravens, 4 sacks, 2 interceptions, and a forced fumble. So this defense is absolutely lethal. Now you're going up against the Rams. I just really think you need to play this defense here. This is in Los Angeles. I don't care Broncos defense should be a great play here against Baker Choke Mayfield. Just mentioned the Baltimore Ravens, guys. So I've been hitting on them over the past month stretch, really, because they've had so many beautiful matchups going in their favor. And you know what? They haven't really shown out to the level that I thought they were going to show, but they haven't been a bad defense. 7 fantasy points in a loss against the Cleveland Browns, where the Ravens offense just didn't do anything. And that's really the story here, is that this Ravens defense is looking outstanding. They're looking incredible. But this Ravens offense is really holding back the defense. They're putting the defense in bad spots. They're putting the defense in bad game scripts because the Ravens can't score any points, and the opposing team finally does score points off of the turnovers that the offense creates, right? And it's really bad news for this Ravens defense. But I will say this Ravens defense is still showing out. They had 7, 11, 6, 7, and 18 over the last 5 weeks, guys. This is a really good defense. They can obviously create the turnovers like they did back in week 14, where they had 3 interceptions, but they also are very steady with the sack totals. Now, this is the meat of why I want to stream the Baltimore Ravens here, and this has really been the meat of why I've been wanting to stream these guys over the past couple weeks. It's about the matchup. They get to play against the young buck Desmond Ridder. Didn't really see too much of anything out of Desmond Ridder, other than the fact that the Saints defense did get 8 fantasy points against them. They were able to limit that offense in Atlanta even more. They just did. The Atlanta offense is just not good, right? No matter what you slice it or dice it, guys, this Falcons offense is not good. Saints defense looked pretty good against them. I definitely think this Baltimore Ravens defense is going to come out hungry after that loss against the Browns, where they were really pissed off. I mean, the Ravens here are still in the playoffs, but they know that this defense has got to be the reason that they win ball games, because this offense is nowhere to be seen. And that's, again, another thing is like this matchup where the Ravens go up against the Atlanta Falcons offense or defense. And I'm not really as concerned that the Ravens offense is going to struggle as much against that defense, because they're so bad as well. So I like the Ravens defense. I think this will be a better game script for the entire team in general, and I think the Ravens are going to get it done. Next, talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against the Arizona Cardinals. In all seriousness, even though they only had 4 fantasy points and they gave up 34 points on the board, I was actually pretty impressed with this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense and what I saw. I mean, they had 2 sacks, they had a forced fumble, and they had an interception on Joe Burrow. But it was also more than that. They played Jamar Chase very well for the majority of the game. They played these receivers very well for the majority of the game. Doug Carlton Davis was great on the outside. This Buccaneers defense really showed me that they still have some of those key players that can step up in big games, but ultimately it wasn't enough. Tom Brady choked big time. Turnover machine Tom Brady he turned into, and that Buccaneers offense fell apart. The Bengals got up on them, and I thought it was a lot less close on the scoreboard than it really was in real life. But and regardless, guys, this is the Buccaneers defense going up against the Arizona Cardinals. We just talked about it with the Broncos, about the fact that the Broncos got to go up against a terrible quarterback situation in the Arizona Cardinals. Whether or not Colt McCoy is there or Trace McSorley is the quarterback, I'm not too concerned. This Cardinals offense is trash. They're terrible. They're miserable. I think the Buccaneers are going to come in and establish the run like every team has been able to establish the run against the Arizona Cardinals. They're going to lower the clock total so that there's not a lot of point opportunities. And I really don't see how the Cardinals put up a ton of points anyways because of their quarterback situation. I think there's going to be a ton of turnover opportunities here, guys. I think the Buccaneers defense, they can make some plays. We have seen it on this season. They have not been as great as of late, guys, but we have seen when they can create the turnovers, they can create house calls like they did back in week 2 against the Saints, or back in week 1 where they were making some plays happen against the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, it's been a long time since then, but I still think in a great matchup, you can definitely start the Buccaneers defense. Because of how bad the quarterback spot is in Arizona, this might be the best streaming opportunity on the week, just in terms of going up against a bad quarterback. Up next, talking about a defense I really, really like this week. Under 50% rostered. I've stashed them in multiple leagues for the past couple weeks, just knowing what juicy opportunity I was going to get this week. And that's the Tennessee Titans going up against division rival, the Houston Texans. Yes, that is the Houston Texans. Last time the Tennessee Titans played the Texans, they had 9 fantasy points, 3 sacks, and an interception against those guys in Houston. Well, now this is in Tennessee. Get that Tennessee crowd wilding out, because guess what, guys? This Tennessee Titans team needs victories, and they need it now. They are desperate. They are hungry. They are in desperate need because they might lose the division to the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a must-win game right here against the Houston Texans. So they're going to come out hungry. They're going to feed the beast, Derrick Henry, and this defense is going to step up. I truly believe it. And the Houston Texans, for a large portion of the season, has been the team to stream against, right? So that's what I want to do, right? I understand in the small sample size over the past couple of weeks, this Houston Texans team has done some very weird things against major big-time favorites like the Kansas City Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys, right? Where that team and the defense wasn't able to put up that many points. Listen, you gotta scratch it, guys. I know it's hard, but the Houston Texans are one of the best matchups here. And this Tennessee Titans team not only is familiar with the Texans and how to beat them, but they are great at doing it, guys. They've had tremendous success over the years. They have tremendous success of giving Derrick Henry the ball and him having 200-plus yard total games against Houston. I think this is going to be a big-time win for the Tennessee Titans. I think they're going to blow them out, guys. And I think this defense is going to be a big reason for it. And also just to give you a little bit of encouragement, right? Because I understand in week 13 and 14, this Tennessee Titans defense had negative points and they looked really bad against the Philadelphia Eagles and the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they stepped up in a huge way. They answered the calls of Mike Vrabel against the Chargers in week 15. They had 8 fantasy points, 3 sacks, 2 picks. They looked hungry for interceptions. They looked hungry for turnovers, and I think they're going to carry forward that energy to this week against the Texans. Next, talking about the Arizona Cardinals defense here, number 11 on the season, and they were able to overcome the trials of Colt McCoy and overcome the trials of Trace McSorley to have a 12-point fantasy game off of the ends of J.J. Watt in that defensive line where they had 7 sacks against the Denver Broncos. They had an interception. They had a forced fumble. They had a fumble recovery, guys. This is all the things that I was mentioning in the video last week when I told you to play them. I said, listen, this defense, I don't care what the situation is. They know how to create turnovers. They know how to make big plays. They know how to get after the quarterback, and that's exactly what they did against the Denver Broncos. Going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you're going up against arguably an even weaker offensive line. You're going up against a team in Tom Brady who just turned the ball over all over the place last time, and Leonard Fournette fumbled. I mean, it was very sloppy play. The Arizona Cardinals are very good at shutting out one of the top receivers on a opposing team. So I don't know how Mike Evans is going to fare in this matchup. I think Chris Godwin will still get his. But I think this Arizona Cardinals defense, I'm not as concerned that they're still going to get the job done, even though their quarterback spot is terrible. So if you're in some deeper league options, right, and you are kind of scouring on the waiver wire, and I think a lot of teams are going to be scared off about the Tom Brady matchup. It doesn't matter how bad Tom Brady looks. People are still scared of him. I still think you can go ahead and roll out the Arizona Cardinals. This has been a good defense on the year, and I expect them to continue to do what they have been doing. And then in week 17, they've got the Atlanta Falcons against Desmond Ridder. So also just keep that on your radar. Here at the Catch, we like to get down and dirty. I'm going to talk about a defense that likes to get down and dirty and is very rarely mentioned on this video. But I tell you what, man, I love what they are doing this season, especially as of late, since they really started to turn this thing around over the past 7 or 8 games. Dan Campbell's got these boys coached up, man. The Detroit Lions are to be taken for real this season. Not only is this offense humming, not only is this offense great, but look at this fantasy defense since week 9. They had 13, 11, 12, 5, 6, 10, 13, and they have played some big-time opponents, guys. They have played a lot of either playoff teams or playoff contenders. Last week against the Jets, they had 13 fantasy points, 4 sacks, and interception. And you say, oh, okay, well, that was Zach Wilson. Who cares? Well, the week before that against the Minnesota Vikings, they had 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. I don't give a crap what you say about the Detroit Lions at this point. They are under 5% rostered. Give me a break. This is a way better team than that. They are fighting hard. They are coached up. Dan Campbell's got me motivated right now. They are playing out of their minds. They're going up against the Carolina Panthers, guys. The same Panthers that pooped their bed against the Pittsburgh Steelers and ruined their playoff dreams, guys. And the Steelers had 4 sacks and a forced fumble against those dudes in Carolina. But here's the big thing, too, right? Carolina, what do they like to do? They like to feed their guys, Chuba Hubbard and Deontay Foreman, who both looked really bad on the ground last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which are a really bad run defense, right? Well, let's take it a step further, right? This Detroit Lions defense, especially on the ground, is outstanding at stopping the run. That is what they do. They stop everybody in the run game. I mean, they made Dalvin Cook look silly. They stop a lot of these teams that try to run the ball. It doesn't matter how talented you are. Everybody fell in love with Zonovan Knight. He looked really bad against the Jets. And it's not like, oh, they're getting limited carries and not performing. They're getting a lot of work and they're still sucking, right? But here's the big thing, too. This Detroit Lions defense, they create a ton of turnovers. They're just always in the right place at the right time. I don't think people respect this team. They just throw it up in the air, and this Lions defense comes up with turnovers, and now they get to play against Sam Darnold. So I love the Lions this week. Trust these guys. And then in Week 17, they get the Chicago Bears, which is another plus-managed game for turnover opportunity. I mean, the last time they played them, they had 11 fantasy points, 3 sacks, and a pick 6. So that is it, guys. That is the Detroit Lions motivational speech. And with all that said, guys, this has been the must-start defenses for your fantasy football teams going into Week 16, the Christmas week of fantasy football, guys. I hope you and your family just enjoy this week, get to spend time together. I hope you watch some great football this week. I hope you eat some great food this week. I hope your teams dominate this week. And if you do enjoy this video or any of the other videos out there, really appreciate it. Hit that like button. Really encourage you to hit the subscribe button. Join the best community in fantasy football. Enjoy Christmas and the holidays with us at the Catch so we can talk about fantasy football together. And also make sure to get in those comments and let us know what is your current situation on the waivers or rosters so we can set your team up. And again, from the top, let us know your favorite movies for Christmas. Mine, again, is Christmas Vacation and Home Alone. So this has been the must-start defenses, guys, for Week 16, and you saw it here first at the Catch.